Thoreau. What did you do? You can't turn wildlife. Thoreau. Um, I just want to talk about Thoreau today. I want to talk about this American philosopher, which I think is very important. Just put the light right here. Is it better right here? I don't know. Let me change that a little bit. It's my book. Like this? No, it's not. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hello. Tonight is a really good opportunity for me to start talking about something, because I guess that's very important, talking about an American philosopher that I really, really appreciate. His name is Henry David Thoreau. I'm going to read an excerpt of one of his masterpiece, okay? One of the masterpieces of the American literature in general. Thoreau is one of the greatest philosopher or writer that I've never known. He is very interesting, and I really like the way he writes. He writes more than 6,000 pages. I read some of them, not all, but I still have a lot to read from his philosophy, the way he understood reality and everything. So Thoreau is such a great American philosopher that I really appreciate. I guess that I have a lot to say about him, because he's so good, and so his method is pretty interesting. So the first thing that I really want to cover today is a text written by Henry David Thoreau a long time ago. It's a very beautiful text written by this author, right? I'm sorry, here I'm having a little problem here. This American author is fantastic, and I hope that anybody can discover him if you're really interested in philosophy, if you're really interested in literature and stuff like that. Well, hold on a little bit. I'm having some problem here. Let's see. Okay, I guess I'm good now. Whoa, sorry, I'm just having. Okay, little technical problem. I guess I'm good. I'm okay now. Little light. That's okay. Whoa. I'm sorry, I'm having a little technical problem here. All right. So, yeah, I'm just going to read a text written by Thoreau, an excerpt of a text that he wrote by the time it was actually in the Walden. The text itself is the wood. It's basically Thoreau talking about the wood. Just wanted to go to the wood in order to discover life, to see what is it about, what's good about life, and what he can find in nature that he can't find in society itself. Thoreau did not loathe society. Thoreau, a student of Emerson, Ralph Waldo Emerson, was a great American essayist and writer and philosopher, part of the American transcendentalism. They borrowed this word from Immanuel Kant philosophy. But Thoreau was a really great American original thinker. And this is what he said. This is an excerpt of his book, The Walden. Basically a book that he something that he wrote when he was in prison, when he was in the wood. And it was very beautiful to see how Thoreau thought about that in general. So it's a pretty interesting thing to say about Thoreau, because Thoreau is great. Is a great American author, right? So I guess I'm better now. Some light. Okay, he's a really great American author, and I really appreciate him. I really appreciate the way he talks about reality, the way he interprets reality in general. Everything about Thoreau is so amazing that if you're talking about Thoreau and you're not really spending a lot of time to thinking about these things in general, you're gonna have a hard time understanding his philosophy, the way he deals with all these things. So I want to read this. I want to read this text, which is very important and very interesting. This is what Thoreau said. I want to read an excerpt of the text. I went to the woods. I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to find only the essential facts of life, and see if I could not learn what it had to teach and not. When I came to die, I discovered that I had not lived. I did not wish to live what was not life. Living is so dear. Nor did I wish to practice resignation unless it was quite necessary. I wanted to live deep and suck out all the marrow of life. Our life is frittered away by detail, little minutia, right? An honest man has hardly need to count more than his 10 fingers. Or in extreme cases, he may add his 10 toes and lump the rest. Simplify, simplify, simplify. Instead of 3 meals a day, if it be necessary, eat but one. Instead of 100 dishes, 5. And reduce other things in portion. The nation itself, with all its so-called internal improvements, which, by the way, are all external and superficial, is just such an overgrown establishment cluttered with furniture and tripped up by its own trap, ruined by luxury and heedless expense. By what of calculation worthy aim, as a millionth households in the land, it lives too fast. Men think that it is essential that the nation have commerce and export ice, talk through a telegraph, and ride 30 miles an hour. Without a doubt, whether they do or not, but whether they should live like baboons or like men, it is a little uncertain. Why should we live with such a hurry and waste of life? This is a very interesting point. Like Thoreau basically was Harvard graduate student when he was, I guess, 21 or 22. Yeah, he was the student of Emerson, which is a great American atheist and a great American writer. Thoreau went to Emerson, and they had a really great conversation. And at that time, Thoreau was learning to be, learn stuff in Harvard University, but he graduated, but he was really deeply, he didn't have a lot of satisfaction with the university circle, the academic bubble. So Thoreau went on his own and he became a philosopher. This is what a philosopher is. A philosopher is basically someone who tries to make the best of life and use a method, a specific way to do that, and also someone who accepts life and trying to make the best of it. That's a philosopher. So philosopher is basically someone who appreciates life and is trying to make the best of it, right? This is basically what a philosopher does, right? And there are a lot of different, usage of this vocabulary word, and people use it for different purposes. different ways. And I guess that's a pretty interesting idea. Like talking about philosopher and is sometimes is very very interesting. And I guess that I think one of the things that is very important for us in our society is to see the value of all these great philosophers. Talk about Thoreau, Emerson, Plato, Aristotle, Nietzsche, Rousseau, etc. I think it's very important to read these their work, sometimes to construct one's own work, because they are talking about life in general. They're not talking about specific things, minutia, right, in life. They are talking about life. They are trying to make the best of it and trying to communicate something to everyone. And I think it's a good idea, right, to trying to do that. And it's not something that you can find anywhere, but it's very rare for people to do something like that. And I guess I'm gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna read about a little bit about Thoreau biography, and then I'm just gonna compare it to one of the greatest poet I've ever read. His name is Stephen Crane. He wrote a poem, I guess, in the 19th or 18th century, which is, "A man talked to the universe. A man said to the universe, 'Sir, I exist.' The universe replies, um, the sense of your existence does not put any obligation on me." So, you see, there are a lot of different facets of human existence, and a lot of poets, what they do, they're trying to um, put it into articulate language the daily experience of ours, right? And we try to rationalize that in a way. And poets, they always talk about their different experiences in life, experiences with reality, etc. I really appreciate what Thoreau did when he went to the wood, which I'm going to be talking about more in the future. I'm trying to begin something right now. But I guess I really appreciate what he did is that he he went to the wood in order to try his philosophy. When you go to the wood, you really you are actually you're in front of nature without a lot of man-made stuff, what we call civilization. He went to the wood in New York, Massachusetts, New York, and he spent 2 years and a half living there. Of course, he did not live as like a wolf, like a anarchist, like spending all his time there. He went to the city because he had family members like sisters and brothers, I guess, who were living in the city, in the big city, where he can share meals with them, talk to them. But most of his time he spent them in the wood. No, it's pretty difficult to spend most of our times without any contact with human beings. Like human interaction has become something that is deeply real. Like you can't think about a life. You can't think about something. You can't think about, let's say, you can't think deeply enough without trying to put someone in your experiences, unless you're doing some spirituality work where you don't really need a lot of person. You don't really need people to be part of what you're doing on a daily basis, right? If you're not doing that, this is going to be a little bit difficult. It's going to be a little bit difficult for you. It's going to be a little bit difficult for society. As Aristotle said, that man is the if you have to live as a man, you have to live in society. If you don't live in a society, either you're an animal or you're God. So I guess that we're always going to be part of our society, but we should not get lost in the illusion of society, because society itself is an illusion. Just just remember about the daily task, the daily task, what we do on a daily basis, right? Going to school, going to church, going to university, read books, listening to others talking, rationalizing their politics, rationalizing their ideologies, um, doing all sort of human things. These are all illusions, right? These are all illusions. It's good to recognize these as illusions. In order to recognize them, there should be a deep um, investigation of reality, a deep investigation of reality, not just little details, technical details like how to cope with reality, but deeply trying to understand reality for its own sake. What I really can recommend here is that there's a model I can recommend to anybody who's trying to do that. You can start, if you're really new in the process, I would say that you can start by reading some great thinkers. They can help you to improve your how you approach reality, and they can help you to you might have some existential crisis. I'm not saying that it's always gonna be fine and stuff like that. If I just come up with an idea and I said, you know what, you know what, there's no such a thing as me, like quote unquote me. A lot of people are just going to be in shock. A lot of people say me does not exist. What do you mean, Valentino? What are you talking about? Are you talking crap? No. Just read a text. You're trying to do some inquiry, self-inquiry, investigation. You're going to find that out. Read some great thinkers. Try to deeply analyze that. That's the me. That thing does not exist. Isn't it a thing? Yeah. It doesn't. The great English philosopher, his name is David Hume, said that the self-identity is fluid and it is an illusion, but in the sense that it is always constructing, it is always constructed. It is a constructing and constructed mechanism. Okay? There's nothing solid in it. You give birth to that you call me. Especially when you are actually teenager. This age, I usually like to talk about that. When you're a teenager, like an adolescent, a lot of people think, well, you exist at the time, or when you're in your childhood. A lot of people think that, well, you have a really deep existential understanding and experience of what it is to be you as a biological and a mental entity. But in reality, it isn't. It isn't. Most of the time you spend when you're a child and when you are an adolescent, you spend it just to understand who you are and um, trying to build a framework, trying to build something out of that. You were busy just creating your own paradigm, your mental paradigm. That's what you were doing when you were just a kid. You were just not playing around. Okay, so it's very important to start doing a lot of legitimate philosophical inquiry, trying to understand what it is and trying to make the best of it. Sometimes it's really hard, but I guess that everybody can do that. Everybody can really do this thing. It's not something that is very difficult. It's not a very difficult thing. I guess it takes some work. It takes some courage. It takes a lot of deeply, rooted ideas, and it takes time. It takes wisdom. It takes knowledge. It takes authors like Spinoza, Thoreau, Rousseau, etc. So I just want to wrap up saying that Thoreau is an amazing author. He's an amazing author that anybody can read. If you'd like to deepen your understanding I would recommend this book, especially some essays written by Thoreau. There is one which is the Weldon, the time he spent in the. I would first recommend the text, the civil disobedience. That's a very fantastic document. Maybe one day I will read it. I have it here. It's the civil disobedience, written by Thoreau. That's a very interesting book. Maybe I don't know if I can just have a look at it. Well, in any case, if anybody wants, to have a clue or just to know the text, I would be glad to read it and to send a link of it, because that's a very interesting text. I guess you're gonna find it in the internet. Okay, so yeah, do that, and you're gonna be fantastic. All right, so that's it. This is Thoreau, everybody. Thoreau in a nutshell. Thoreau. Um, his name is Henry David Thoreau. He changed his name actually. In his birth certificate written by his parents, it was David Henry Thoreau. He changed it into Henry David Thoreau. Thoreau, like thoroughly in English. It is Thoreau. 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 You can say thorough. You can say thorough, not toho. This is the French pronunciation. All right. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk. I wanted to talk about Thoreau. I went to the woods. Just wanted to read a little, something of his text, because I think his text is amazing. It's fantastic. Very interesting text. And I guess that I'm going to be spending a lot of time just reading this text, just blow my mind. And I connected with the Stoic philosophy of trying to live the good life. Basically, that's what we're here for. We're here to increase our consciousness. Some people would say that we're here to discover that we are God. Yeah, like, it's not pantheism that we are part of God, but this is experience itself. This is reality. Everything that we experience now. I'm not talking to you. You're basically talking to yourself. Okay, because we are one, right? When you split reality into pieces, this is where form exists, selfishness exists, survival exists, self-bias exists, ego exists, right? And if you read Genesis is what is going to bring. It's the formless is going to give form to the formless, right? So these are very interesting ideas. I guess that maybe one day I would talk about Shniva, Barazga philosophy, the Hinduism philosophy, the Taoism philosophy, the Buddhist philosophy, because I'm really interested in Buddhism. So maybe I can talk about Buddhism a little bit, talking about some non-duality, that I've spent more than a year reading about non-duality, the idea that everything is one, that we're trying to dissect reality. By dissecting reality, we just basically committed evil to the world, and we're basically creating what we call evil, because basic evil is just the projection of the self, right? And how does that evolve, and the different fragmentation understanding of the ego, from the self-survival ego, the instinctive ego, to the unitive ego, right, to the turquoise ego, right? So yeah, I'm really interested in these things. I can talk about linguistics, philosophy, but I prefer talking about things that are pragmatic and spiritual. So I'm trying to put pragmatism and spirituality together, because I guess these are very interesting things. They are interconnected, and they are very important. Okay, so the next step is going to be Valence talking about philosophy and spirituality. This is the first time that I've done this, but I haven't done any live video like this. This is my first live video actually. I want to keep on um, going live, and I'm going to be live with others on my Facebook account. I hope to do that in the future, and I hope to talk to wonderful and interesting folks, talking about different ideas, talking about different things, different ideas, different philosophy, religion, spirituality, and experiences with life reality. So I'm deeply passionate about these things, and I hope that you too. So we're gonna have a wonderful time together. This is Ravel Tunisia. This is not self-taught polyglot. I'm not basically talking about languages, and it's not always gonna be about um, philosophy. It can be any other things, but I can use any language. I'm not gonna do it exclusively in English. It's gonna be French, Creole, Spanish. It's gonna be a little Portuguese sometimes. There's gonna be other languages as well. So that's a really good opportunity for me. I'm still wondering, just blinking my eyes, not really fixing the camera. But I'm sorry, this is the first live. I'm sorry for that, but I'm trying to improve that a little bit because I'm just watching my face here, and I'm just trying to stare in the camera. But it's kind of hard, but I hope to do that in the future, trying to improve a little better. So this is Ralph in Tunisia, not self-taught polyglot, but something else. Series of my thought on basically anything in life, sharing my ideas on these things, and I hope you like these things, and we can keep on talking about these um, more and more, and explore reality in a different way. So thank you for during this video listening to me a little bit for over, I guess, 30 minutes, almost 30 minutes, just going live. And I hope to you know, just do that again. And yeah, it's late. I know it's late. My eyes kind of red, right? It's time to sleep. So anyway, I hope to do that in the future. So I hope to get ready and be better in my the way that I do these videos. So if you have recommendations, things you want me to improve a little bit, you can just tell me that. I'm very open. I'm very open minded. I'm trying to be, because everybody's saying that they're a label, but today labels is tomorrow's conservative. It's very hard to be label, but I'm trying to be, because label is the best thing to be. Just label in every way. I'm not talking about politics, position. When I say label, that doesn't mean that that does not mean I'm in the left, okay, and I'm not in the right. So label is just a way, just an approach to life. You're open to the unknown. That's what I said. This is the You're just trying to balance your yin and yang aspects of your reality, of your experience. That's what I mean by liberal, open-minded. And this is the I like the symbol of the serpent in the Garden of Eden. If you read this text closely enough, the serpent in the Christian mythology, like the Christian mythology, the way that we understand it is that the serpent is basically, if you're talking about fundamentalism, people that take the Bible, word for word, not a mystical text, they tend to believe that the serpent is a bad figure, like it's a bad mythological figure, and we still have this idea. And I was shocked. Like 2 years ago, I was reading about Hinduism and Buddhism, that the serpent is a very wise animal in the civilization of the Hindus and the Buddhist. The serpent is a symbol of knowledge of the unknown. And if you really uh, if you're trying to like if you try to describe or to observe a serpent, it's basically that the serpent doesn't have an ear. The serpent receives waves over all its body, right? And in these mythological texts, there are a lot of gods made out of the serpent. And serpents are very interesting figures. They are very interesting. They're not devils. They're not a Satan. That's something for another time, because that's very deep. What is the serpent in the Garden of Eden? What is the serpent in the civilization of the Mesopotamian civilization? What is it? What is the message of the serpent? Why do we see serpent when we try not to be part of reality as it is constructed by others? Reality as it is as a construction, not reality itself. Why do we see serpent? Why do people see serpent in their meditation retreat? Okay. These are really interesting questions that I need to answer. You need to answer for yourself. You're interested in this journey. But anyway, that's not for today, because we've been talking about a lot of stuff. And I hope that you guys are fantastic. I hope that you are doing fine and going to do a lot of work. I'm going to try to bring my best here, doing this and that, talk about things that I'm deeply passionate about, that I'm fond of. And it's not about languages. I love languages. I love learning languages. I love talking about languages. But it's not going to be about languages. All right. So thank you for your time, and I hope to see you again in the future. Thank you. Sorry for my eyes. Just ciao. Thank you. Take care.